Right, well, I'm just a little bit nervous, and I can tell that I'm nervous because I wear a Fitbit, and my heart rate is 102 at the moment, and I think your resting heart rate is supposed to be about 70. Breathe, they said. Before I start, I just wanted to say in my bio, it said that I may be discussing the fact that in my spare time I go skydiving, whitewater rafting, diving with the great white sharks, or race car driving. Just for the record, I've never been a race car driver, but I really liked the way it sounded, so I didn't tell anyone and I've just left it in there. Good morning, my lovely Rotarians. Okay, as I said, I'm a bit nervous. So I was given some advice by a friend in the media and they said, just picture everybody, just imagine everybody naked. I've been out the back, and I've had a bit of a look around, so I might go with my version. So what I want you to do is remember something really, really funny, just really funny, okay? You got that in your minds? Now I'm going to tell you a joke, and I want you to laugh as hard as you can. What goes quick, 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 quick? A New Zealand duck. Right, bear with me. Okay. So every time you hear the word Freddo Frog, I want you to laugh that hard because I'm going to be up here for 25 minutes and I might be saying stuff that I think's funny, but it's not really. So if I just say Freddo Frog, or laugh, okay? Right. We're going to get along fine for the next 20 minutes. Okay, hello and a big warm welcome to the lovely Port Lincoln. This town is famous for its pristine seafood and its delicious Freddo Frogs. Sweet, yes, okay. Okay, minasan, o genki desu ka? Ohayou gozaimasu. Watashi no namae wa Emma desu. Okay. I'm a little rusty on my Japanese because that's a language I learnt 22 years ago as a Rotary exchange student. Technology is an amazing thing. In other words, I've got an app on my phone that tells me that it was 11,664,123 minutes ago I was an exchange student. But we need to go back a bit. When I was younger, I was a naughty little girl. I was always in trouble, not with the law, just with my mother, which pretty much is the law these days. But I preferred to say that I was a cheeky tomboy and an outgoing and loved life. But I believe there were two experiences that have had a profound impact on who I am today, and without the first, the second wouldn't have happened. The first was I got sent to boarding school. Actually, no, I can't say I got sent. I chose to go to boarding school. So let's go back. It was the summer holidays of 1989, and I'm being a little spirited, and I had my best friend over, and I wanted to go to the beach, and my mum said no. So I rolled out the usual line, I want to go to boarding school. There's my mum there. Third row back, red hair. I want to go to boarding school. I'd have much more freedom at boarding school. And she rolled out the usual line, go to my room. So I knew what happened. I'd go to my room. In her room, she'd let me sweat in my boots for 5 minutes and then she'd come in and give me the usual lecture that she gave. But not this time. I've walked into her bedroom and there laid on the bed is my summer uniform, my winter uniform, my school books and my plane ticket. She casually strolled in 5 minutes later and like a lovely mother said, now dear, I guess you realise that you were going to boarding school. But guess what? There's one thing you can't say, that is, my parents didn't love me, they sent me to boarding school. Because right out there 5 minutes ago in front of your best friend, you said, I want to go to boarding school. Yep, checkmate. Thanks, Mum. So for the first week at boarding school, and all the girls are crying in the hallways on their phone, the public phones to their mothers and saying, you don't love me, you sent me to boarding school. I just had to suck it up and deal with it. On introduction day, the head of the boarding house said, met with my mum, and Mum said, oh, you certainly know my daughter's been here. Oh, Mrs. Forster, we hear that a lot from parents. We're fine. We can handle all situations. Fast forward 3 years, the two met again. Oh, Janet, I do believe you were right about your daughter. So, but I did go from a straight D student to an A and B and ended up being a boarding house prefect. But if it wasn't for this experience, I'm pretty sure and I'm pretty certain that I would not have entertained the idea of being a Rotary exchange student. Once again, thanks, Mum. Just seeing who's awake. So on the 22nd of January 1993, the airport was a sea of blue jackets, quite similar to this one. But I might actually take this off if it's a bit hot. Okay, it was a sea of red jackets. Blue jackets, that is. And myself and 63 other exchange students were going to Japan. We were boarding a plane for the unknown. As the plane took off, I was excited. Yippee, I'm free. I just spent 3 years in boarding school. So for the first half of the trip, we chatted, moved seats and squealed with excitement. The epitome of what you don't want to be sitting next to on an international flight times by 63. So halfway there, we all settled down. Some slept, some smoked. Yes, smoking was not something you should do as a Rotary exchange student, but you could still do it on planes back then. And a few of the boys had a few Foster's cans. Once again, I don't encourage that as an exchange student. Whew, what's the heart rate now? Okay, so we were halfway there, and that's when it hit me. I'm about to spend 1 year in a country, speaking another language, eating with chopsticks, and the only way to communicate with my parents is by fax. What have I done? I had to fix this immediately. So I raced up to the hostess, and I knew probably asking her to turn the plane around wouldn't have been a good idea. So I grabbed a pen and paper and found one of the only 5 students that could speak Japanese, sat down next to her and said, "You've got to help me." And she just looked at me, she said, "Emma, you've been going to Japan for 6 months. And now 3 hours from Tokyo Airport, you decide to learn the language." Anyway, she taught me a few things in Japanese, which I practiced for the rest of the flight. We got to Narita Airport in Japan, and the plane lands, the custom door opens, and in front of me was a sea of Japanese people, all the same height, all the same colour hair, all waving signs and screaming our names. Honestly, I felt like Larry Emder from The Price is Right. After what felt like an eternity, my host family found me, and at this stage, that fluent Japanese that I learnt on the plane, gone. Couldn't even speak English at that stage. Anyway, they took me out, and I remember looking back at the customs doors thinking, I could just get back on that plane. Anyway, I drove to my host family. I didn't drive, once again, another D that you don't do as a Rotary exchange student. We ended up at my first host family's house, and that's when I was, I guess, a bit tired, mentally dazed, and a bit overwhelmed by the whole experience. I looked around their living room, and tears began to well in my eyes. Either I was going to spend the next 12 months with a family of dwarfs, or someone had come in and stolen all of their furniture legs, because the furniture was like on the ground. It was at that point that I just really wanted my mum to come and get me and take me home, or at least to ring me and tell me that everything was going to be okay. It was here that I met my Japanese counsellor. He was 5 foot, had a constant cigarette smoke around him, and was on the other side of 95. I really hoped that I didn't get in trouble because I didn't think he'd make out the year. He certainly wasn't as dashing as my Australian counsellor, Mr. K. Jim, I don't know if you're in here. No. So in Japan, being a Rotarian is a reflection of your status or your wealth. My first host family were not Rotarians. Their daughter was coming to Japan. That's why I ended up with them. So they had a small house, they had a small car, they had a small dog, and they lived in a small suburb. But they had a really big heart. I spent 4 months with the Hasegawas, and I pretty much instantly fell in love with them. I love my host mum dearly, and especially, I love my host family dearly, and especially my mum. And I hear you thinking, how can you fall in love with complete strangers after only being with them 4 months? But they taught me everything. They had to teach me how to speak, how to eat, how to shower, because when you're eating with chopsticks, those sticks, that's pretty hard. They had to teach me how to sleep, to roll out my futon every night, and how to speak. So they taught me a lot, so I had a big bonding with them. One morning after being there for 3 months, I came down and started speaking to my host mum. She just looked at me, she said, "Emma, what happened?" I said, "What do you mean?" And this was all in Japanese. She said, "You're Japanese." What had happened is that night I'd had a dream in Japanese and started thinking Japanese and basically speaking what I considered fluent Japanese, but I could tell it wasn't that fluent, but yeah. So after that, we had a lot of fun with my host family. We'd play ping pong, we'd laugh, we'd be silly, and occasionally share the odd Asahi beer. So when I was told that I'd soon be moving, I badly wanted to protest and say no. This was my family and I wanted to stay here. As moving day became closer, I noticed my mum becoming more and more distant, and I really couldn't understand what had happened, and it upset me. I defended her somehow and I didn't know how. On moving day, she just sat at the end of the kitchen table, and I went to give her a hug and squeeze her and just really hug her and show her my appreciation of what she'd done for me for the past 4 months, and she just sat there, tears streaming down my face. I'm a bit like in a minute. She just sat there. There was no emotion whatsoever, no reciprocal emotion, no acknowledgement whatsoever. I'll be honest, I thought, holy cow, what have I done? I've really upset this family. It was a really hard time for me, and I just wanted to go to my room and scream. But in the driveway was another family who was eager to welcome the Aussie exchange student. So I had to basically suck it up and deal with it. I was devastated. I cried myself to sleep for the next 5 nights. I had accidentally left some of my belongings at my first house, so I got my new host mother to ring my first host mother so I could get some things. I was very excited driving there because I knew I'd get to see my host mother again. So you can imagine my disappointment when she sent her work colleague out. I thought, oh, I've really done a terrible thing. As the work colleague was handing over the gear, I looked around the corner and there was my host mum hiding around the corner, peeking around. So I ran up to her and I said, what have I done? That's what I wanted to say to her, but I didn't have to because her eyes said it all. They were as red and as puffy as mine. I found out that she'd taken 3 days off of work because she missed me. Yeah. You see, in Japan, affection and public displays of emotion are not common. This wasn't in my speech. Actually, let's just have a bit of a laugh so I can get over myself. Yeah. What's the heart rate? 116. This is like a workout. Anyway, we looked at each other. Start again. She just didn't know how to deal with me crying and didn't know how to deal with emotion. So we gave each other a big hug. We looked at each other, and even across our language and cultural barriers, we knew that there was a deep love, and she gingerly reached out and gave me a hug. Truth be known, it was the worst hug I've ever had, but it meant the world to me. Fast forward 20 years, and when we see each other, we hug like there's no tomorrow. I had 3 other families, all of whom were wonderful, but the bond and love just wasn't the same as it was there with my first mum. So when my 4th host family was going overseas, the simple solution was I'd go back to my first host family. By then I could speak a lot better Japanese and we could communicate a lot better. But I wanted my Aussie mum to come over and meet my Japanese mum. Well, my real mum, sorry, mum. When I wrote this, you weren't going to be in the room, so I could have said what I wanted. Hope Dad's not here because I haven't mentioned him at all. Yes. I, by now, could speak better Japanese, and I really wanted my Aussie mum to come over and meet my Japanese mum. Everyone was satisfied that I was, I wouldn't be upset and I wouldn't want to go home with my other Aussie mum because I now had 2 mums. So Mum came over and I proudly showed off my Japanese, my school, my house, etc. We dressed her up in kimonos, we took her to flower arranging lessons, and if anyone knows my mum, that's so not up her alley. I had so many other wonderful experiences in Japan, too many to mention. We went to Tsukiji Fish Market, which was where we were selling our tuna to at the time, not the ones you'll be swimming with either. I rode on a train that went at 360 kilometres an hour. I ate raw horse and I visited Hiroshima and climbed Mount Fuji. I didn't get homesick until I got home. That's when I got homesick for Japan. For many months I'd still take my shoes off at the door and bow to people and say me instead of me. In the 12 months I was in Japan, I grew. No, I mean I really grew, like 15 kilos grew. I did, and that is the reason... Oh, I didn't realise I was up there. That's the reason I didn't have a slideshow presentation, because I was actually looking through the photographs and I was thinking, why have I got photos of this person? Then I realised it was me. In 6 months, I managed to put on 15 kilos. Yeah. I don't know if I should... Yeah. One of my friends commented on my physical appearance when I got off the plane. They said, gee, she's just tits and teeth. Sorry, that might have been inappropriate. I can't take it back, it's out there now. So that's why I don't have a video. It took me a few months to get back into Port Lincoln life. I was at the Rotary Welcome Back dinner, and I was sitting on the head table, and all the Rotarians and their wives were there, and we got served soup. And Mum knows where I'm going with this. And I did what I'd done in Japan for the past 12 months. So I picked it up, and as the bowl came down here, my eyes met with my mum, and I knew I was in a whole world of trouble. Oh, man. But I blamed it on my other mum. Beauty of having two mums. I just said, that's what my other mum taught me. I just spent 12 months close to Tokyo with 13 million people, and the population which is half the population of Australia. So it wasn't long before I realised I wanted something bigger and better. I don't think my parents realised when they sent me on an exchange that for 12 months that this wasn't just a year-long journey, this was a lifetime journey. I often get asked how being a Rotary exchange student helped change my life. Apart from teaching me another language and some confidence, something I wasn't lacking to start with, independence and communication and networking skills, it's one of the coolest things to have on your resume. It's given me the competitive edge in a number of jobs that I've gone for. One of them was Raging Thunder in Cairns. The managing director said, "Gee, Emma, you don't have any reservations or computer skills." Keeping in mind this was 95, so we're at Windows 95, and an apple was something you bought in the fruit and veg shop. And I just looked at him and said, "Gee, Dennis, I'm a Rotary exchange student that speaks fluent Japanese." So I thought. I said, I can guarantee you I can learn your computer system in 2 weeks. Good luck trying to teach these ladies Japanese in 2 weeks. Got the job. I then travelled overseas for a bit and then returned to the wonderful shores of Australia and landed the role as a TV presenter on Out of the Blue, which is a seafood cooking program with Michael Angelakis and Michael Keelan. I'll let you in on a secret. When I went for the job interview, they said, "All right, this is the gig. You'll be working with Michael Angelakis, whom I knew, and Michael Keelan." I mistook Michael Keelan for Michael Caton. So I rushed home to Mum and said, "I've got a job with the guy from the castle," and packed to the rafters. You can imagine my shock when Michael Keelan arrived for filming the next week. But I believe being a Rotary exchange student has helped me in many ways. When we travel overseas, it's given me an appreciation for different cultures, languages, and respect. And just, it's being a good ambassador for our country, state, or town, or wherever we're from. Then approximately 5 years ago, I began the business of Swim with a Tuna. Insert shameless self-promotion. It's wonderful. You should all come out. So this involves being whisked out on the Tuna Express, out to the tuna pontoon where you can feed fish that are up to 60 kilos big, or actually 70 kilos. And you can hand feed them. So it's an amazing experience. If you want, come out, I'll look after you. So there are many more stories about how professionally and personally my 12 months as a Rotary exchange student has shaped my life and continues to do so. I really want to thank the Rotary Club of Port Lincoln for believing that I would be a good ambassador for Rotary and the town. My wonderful counsellor, Mr. Kay, I know it was 22 years ago, and I don't know if you're in here, but I'm sure I attributed to a few of your grey hairs, and I apologise for that. And of course, thank you to my two mums, Aussie mum down there, and my Japanese mum, who still does come to Australia. She's been here a number of times, and I've been over there. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you've had fun. Hey.
Hi.
Hey. Do you want to... Let's do a selfie.
All right. Excuse us just a moment.